Hello everyone, welcome to sermon number 3. This third sermon, third room. I have Peter with me. Yes. It's a little late, so if I yawn a lot, that's why. And if I don't, then I am good at acting. But anyway, right now I'm going to be talking about the Sunday Christian, right? And there are a lot of elements to this. Like, I could probably spend my entire life preaching about this. And technically what I'm doing, I don't even know if that's preaching. I think it's just sort of because I'm not ordained and I don't really know anything. So, anyway, I've spent my whole life talking about this and probably still wouldn't cover all the bases. But here's part 1. So, sorry, it's raining. My window's open. A little bit of what I say. There we go. What'd I tell you? Me made it 1 minute and 29 seconds in. Anyway, most of what I say is gonna be new, but a little of it might be a repeat, but it's okay because there weren't that many views on the last video, which really doesn't bother me. Like, if I was doing it for likes and views, that's not the right reason to do it. So, I can think of it like it only had 6 views, or that 6 more people than would have seen it if I had not done it. So, anyway. Before we get started, what is my definition of a Sunday Christian? I define a Sunday Christian as someone who claims to be a follower of Christ, but only acts that way on Sunday, because there are 7 days in a week, and you should act Christ-like at all times. I don't remember the exact verse. Let's see if I can find it quick. If I don't find it really soon, I won't read it, but I believe it is in Romans, which is my favorite book. I think I said that a lot, but who knows. Anyway. Let's see. Is it here or not? Well, this one says, "For one will scarcely die." This is 5:6. Romans 5:6. 5:7. This is Romans 5:7. Don't listen to me. "For one will scarcely die for a righteous person, though perhaps for a good person one would dare even to die." So, I completely forgot what I was talking about, but I think that tied in somewhere. And if it didn't, reading the Bible is never a bad thing. So, I can't find it, but basically it says you should strive for perfection like God is perfect. And, practice makes perfect, but nobody's perfect, so why practice? Hilarious. But, anyway, you should be the same on Sunday that you are on Thursday. So, in the Bible it says that there will be people on Judgment Day that There will be people on Judgment Day that the Lord says, I never knew you. Like, can you imagine that? Like, doing good deeds. I know good deeds don't get you into heaven, that's not what I'm saying, but like, you're doing good deeds and all these things in the Lord's name, and you die, and on Judgment Day, God says, I never knew you. I'm guessing that in the back of their minds, they probably know that they're not really doing it right, so it probably doesn't come as a surprise, but it might. I really don't know. I don't know what that verse is, and I don't know the context around it. But so do I think some of them will be people who God says, I never knew you? Yes, absolutely. There are a couple people in church, not in Bethel and not in Fairmont Assembly of God. I'm not talking about those specifically. I'm talking about the church as a whole. So yes, absolutely, there are people in the church who are going to be told that they were not following Christ. But by and large, I think that most of us just miss the mark because, we all miss the mark. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. None is perfect, no, not one. There are more, but I don't remember. None of this has been rehearsed, nor is it in my notes. I'm still on, bullet point 1, which is the intro. And I'm 6 minutes and 55 seconds in, so I think I'm doing pretty good. But yes, there are some bad people in the church, but for the most part, we're good people who do bad things. But basically, there are 2 passages that Jesus said that really stick out to me in this particular instance. Obviously, there are more than 2 things that Jesus said that are profound. But for this specific thing, these 2 stories. The first one is in John 8. A woman was caught cheating on her husband, right? So adultery. And according to Old Testament law, she was to be stoned. So the high priest tried to trap Jesus, but he says, let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? So that means that the only person with the power to kill her is Jesus, but Jesus doesn't do that because why would you? I don't know, there's probably a lot of theology there that I'm missing, but the point is, nobody is sinless. I think about that story pretty much every day, probably at least 5 times a week. I like it because it can be used in lots of situations, not just one where you're stoning an adulteress, which honestly is a situation I've never been in. So I hope it stays that way. The other statement that Jesus makes is the one that says we have to remove the log of our own eye before the speck of someone else's. I actually couldn't really find that verse, not gonna lie, and I didn't look it up on the internet, so I was just flipping through it trying to find it and I couldn't. So if I get it wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that it was Jesus who said that. So I wrote down an example, but it's a really stupid example, so we're not gonna read it. But basically what I was trying to say in that example that I did not read, because it's very political, which I think that churches should not be politicized. I don't know, like, I don't really get how you can be. There are people who say, I have been told by one of my old pastors, he said to me, it isn't, I asked him, okay, I hope this is making sense. I asked him about politics because I was young, like it was a long time ago. I was young, probably, I don't even know what age I was, but I didn't know what my political ideology was because I had like just found out about them. So I asked him, I said, am I liberal? He looked at me and said, no, it's impossible to be both Christian and liberal. Which, now that I'm older, I don't agree with. I don't think that's true. That's like saying it's impossible to be a Republican and Christian. I don't really get why people believe things other than the Bible. Like, I know all have sinned, fall short of the glory of God, none is perfect, no, not one. All of those verses, like, but what I'm trying to say is that I feel like if we all used the Bible as our main source rather than CNN or Fox News or Donald Trump said this or Barack Obama said this or, you know, stuff like that, I think that people would get along a lot better and there would be a lot less, I don't know, badness in the church, I guess. But that's not the point. So what I was trying to say is that we shouldn't look down on Sunday Christians because we have all done it. Some of us, you know, it's just a moment, like, I don't know, maybe you were at a party, which isn't inherently bad. Maybe you're at a party and you're drinking, which also isn't inherently bad. I don't really get why Christians say don't drink. Because what the Bible actually says is don't get drunk. But anyway, so you're at a party and you're drinking, which is fine, given the circumstances that you are in this situation. You have a little bit too much to drink, and now you're drunk. Technically, that's a sin. So, does that make you a Sunday Christian? I don't know. Does sinning make you a Sunday Christian? Well, technically, yes, but that's not really what I'm going after here. So, what I'm going after is, on Sunday, they're the loudest singer. They volunteer to read the most. They, you know, the whole 9 yards. And then on Monday, they are like Peter when the rooster crows, right? So that's what I'm talking about. We shouldn't judge them because only God can judge. We should try to steer them in the right direction, and there's a big difference between saying you are a bad person and saying, hey dude, I've noticed that you're acting a little different outside of church. Like, are you okay? Is there anything that's going on? Stuff like that. That's very different. Because putting yourself equal with someone is good. Putting yourself above someone is not good. So there are some Sunday Christians in Romans. By the way, do you guys think it's cool that, so like Romans was obviously written, to the Romans, but they were the ancient Romans. So when we learn about them, and I think it's cool how the Bible and history locked together like that, because they're the same events, so they're the same. But anyway, Romans 2:15 is a verse that I always reference to myself. I don't actually know if I ever say it out loud, but Romans 2:13, I think I said 15, it's 2:13. For it is not the hearers of the law who will be justified, but the doers of the law. That's it. Does that sound like a Sunday Christian? Yes, that is exactly what a Sunday Christian is. Someone who goes to church, hears the law, and ignores it. Which, again, we've all done it at some point. We all have. Even pastors do it. I guarantee you, even the Pope has done it. But we're not Catholic, so anyway. If you are a Sunday acting like a Sunday, if you are acting like a Sunday Christian right now, I just want to tell you that everything happens for a reason. People tell me that when I say that, it's not really encouraging. And if that isn't encouraging to you, I do apologize. I'm not trying to be condescending or anything, which I know is not the opposite of encouraging, but to me personally, knowing that every single thing that has and will happen is the ultimate, I could take this ring off and throw it across my room, and there would be a reason for that. I have no idea what the reason is. Maybe the reason would be to prove a point to you guys, but regardless of that, there's a reason, and it makes me feel much, what's the word? What did I write down? What word did I write down? Relief, that's what I said, a relief. Knowing that everything that happens is all part of a big master plan is a relief. And, again, I think there's a lot of theology involved there, and I might be mistaken on that, so I'm not 100% sure. So let me see. I don't know. I should just stop writing these and just start writing outlines, because I don't know. I'm taking speech next year, so hopefully these will start getting better. But I'm doing these for me and for you. If you listen, cool, but it's good for me to look back on them too. So oh yeah, playlist. I made a playlist on Apple Music but it's mine. So I'm going to be making a YouTube playlist that I will be linking, and it's just going to be a bunch of songs that speak to me, and hopefully one of them will speak to you as well. Although it is possible that I will forget, so if I don't link it soon, you should remind me. There's a lyric from a song. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what the name of the song is. I'm trying to think. Waymaker. It's Waymaker. That's the name of the song. It says, "No matter what I have, your grace is enough." And yeah, like we hear that and we're like, yeah. Like, yeah, God's got it. We're good. Yeah. But picture yourself, you're Job, right? Job was I think Job was extremely rich. So who's a good person to pretend you're Drake, okay? You're Drake. Actually, no, Kanye, because you're Kanye, right? You are ridiculously rich. You have a lot. You have a family. You know, you're made for, like, many lifetimes. But, so, you're Kanye, your wife dies. And then your daughter dies. And then your house burns down. And then the stock market crashes. Then you lose all your money. And you literally just have the clothes on your back. You went from, like, zero to hero, but it was like hero to zero real quick. So Kanye, you know, his album Jesus is King, he became a Christian, or at least he says he did. I personally believe him, but you know, that's up to God, Judgment Day. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Basically, would Kanye still be planning on releasing Jesus is King 2 if all that had happened? Maybe. Possible. But it's also definitely possible that he would give up on God. Like, I don't know. Anyway, remember Job's wife? I'm so sorry. Remember Job's wife told him multiple times, curse God and die? And Job said, basically, shut up, essentially. What does that have to do with the Sunday Christians? Some Christians have, you know, multi-million-dollar houses, a loving family, car collection, everything, just like I was talking about with Kanye. And that's great. You know, there's not necessarily a problem with that. Although Jesus did say it is easier to go through the eye of a needle than the rich man to enter a kingdom of heaven. Something like that. But there's nothing inherently wrong with having money. So, you know, if all that was gone, just like Kanye, would they still be praising God? You know, some yes, some no. But this is not Sermon on Job, although that would be a good one. I should do that next. Well, it's almost midnight. I want to make myself very clear when I say this. I'm not trying to say that Sunday Christians are bad people. I'm not even saying that they aren't real Christians, because I personally consider myself to be a real Christian, because I believe that Jesus died for us. God sent his son. I believe that the Bible is true. I think that makes me a real Christian. Big theology, but you understand what I'm saying. And I've been a Sunday Christian before. So Sunday Christians are real Christians sometimes. Maybe even usually. I'd say even usually there's Christians who just have gone astray, I guess. Romans 2 is a very good reminder as to why we should not judge. Romans 2 says, "Therefore you have no excuse, O man, every one of you who judges. For in passing judgment on another, you condemn yourself, because you, the judge, practice the very same things." I think my voice got a little weird there because it felt weird, but I'm not totally sure. So if I read that in a weird voice, I'm sorry. What Paul is saying echoes what Jesus is saying, which log before spec. Stone, but only if you don't sin. Judge only if you are flawless. So, Romans 2, right? You the judge practice the very same things. If we judge someone for being a Sunday Christian, we condemn ourselves. So I forgot how small my phone screen is, so you can't see all my hand motions. Anyway, that's another very political example. I don't think I will read that because I think you understand what I'm saying. Basically, Sunday Christianity is an unfortunate reality for us, whether we see it, hear about it, or live it. I'm not here to condemn you. Jesus said to love one another, and I do love all of you. If you are watching this and you are one of my family members, love you. If you are watching this and you are one of my friends, I love you. And if you are watching this and because it just came up on your recommended on YouTube and you're like, what the heck, I have 28 minutes to do something, which is where we're at right now, so I don't know how long till I'm done. Probably not too much longer though. I love you. And I just want to give a big shout out to Tony Ortega. So there's one day I was running and I said, so this is exactly what I said. I said, I don't want to be mean, but what does your family do for money? Which in hindsight was probably an awful question to ask. But that conversation got it started, and that conversation is the reason that I started going to the Fairmount Assembly of God. And going to the Fairmount Assembly of God is the reason that my faith has grown stronger. And the reason that my faith has grown stronger is because I've gotten closer to the Lord. So asking a really rude question made me get closer to the Lord. So the Lord works in mysterious ways, right? So I just want to say thank you, Tony, for inviting me to church. And those of you at Bethel, there's nothing against you. I love all of you. You're not a bad church or anything. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's not for me. But I think I wanted to. This is where I was gonna be done, and then I was like, no, this will be a short sermon, and then it turns out it's half an hour. But I was like, no, I gotta write about something else. So I started writing about something else, and I don't really remember how long it is. But here we go. During lockdown, I have worked pretty much every day. and I listen to music on the way. It was usually about 2 to 3 songs, because it's a mile there and a mile back, so 2 miles at 30 miles an hour, 2 songs. But I do take advantage of those 2 miles and listen, and I blast my music as loud as possible. And I also use my AirPods when I run, because Mr. Bonk doesn't want you to listen to music while you run, but I can't run with someone because of quarantine, so I'll just get bored if I run by myself. So I've been listening to my favorite playlist, which is the playlist I was talking about earlier. That is my personal one on Apple Music that I'll be recreating with a few changes, because some of them are in there 4 times because I like them a lot. So I like hearing them 4 times. But anyway, I just want a big, huge shout out to Pastor Pete Ortega for showing me almost all these songs, because when I switched over from Bethel, it was a completely different type of music, and I love it. And I also wanted to shout out Pastor Peter Erickson for being the GOAT. You're the GOAT. I love both of you. I love Pete. I love you, Pastor Pete, and I love you, Pastor Pete. I'm so thankful that the Lord has put you guys in my life. And I think that's all I got for today, because the Sunday Christian part, I think I wrote in 2 days. And this last 2 paragraphs took me almost a week to write. I guess that's not true, probably about 5 days. So I think really the important part is that I said it. So I hope you were able to glean something from this. And I've noticed that I never pray in the beginning of my sermons, and there I am again, sermons. Are they my sermons? I'm not a pastor. During my talks, during my sermons, during my videos, whatever. And I do want you to know, if you were worried about that, which I don't think any of you were, but if you were worried about that, I always pray before I write, during writing, after writing, and before recording. So, but I just want to leave you with the words of Jesus, which are, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." Go in peace, everyone. God bless you, and I'm gonna go to bed.